Welcome to Goddesses. I'm your host, Blair Minerva. Today on Goddesses, imagine having your childhood stolen, your innocence shattered by a single act of violence, yet somehow, that very attempt to silence you ignites a global movement. In today's episode, witness how Malala's story unveils the extraordinary power within each of us to defy fear and champion change, leaving you questioning, what revolution will you ignite? A bullet pierced the air on a dusty afternoon in Pakistan's Swat Valley. The target, a 15-year-old girl whose only crime was wanting to learn. You might think this is where Malala Yousafzai's story ends. Instead, it's where a revolution began. Picture yourself on that school bus. The familiar chatter of teenage girls fills the air, their laughter bouncing off metal walls. Sunlight streams through smudged windows, catching dust motes in its beam. Then footsteps approach, heavy, deliberate. A shadow darkens the doorway. In that moment, before the crack of gunfire shatters everything, you feel what Malala felt, the weight of knowing that speaking up might cost you everything. But what makes someone so young stand firm when faced with such darkness? What transforms an ordinary girl into a voice that even bullets cannot silence? The Swat Valley wasn't always a place of fear. You would have seen it in its glory days. Emerald mountains touching clouds, markets bursting with color, and schools humming with the melody of children's voices. This was Malala's world, where her father ran a school that dared to teach girls alongside boys. Then the Taliban came. Like ink bleeding across paper, their influence spread street by street. Music fell silent, colors faded to black, girls' schools became targets. Each morning, fewer students arrived at class, their empty seats telling stories of families too afraid to resist. But in one classroom, a young girl refused to look away. While other children played during breaks, you'd find Malala in the library, devouring books like they were air. Her classmates called her odd, different, but in her difference lay her strength. When adults whispered their fears, she asked questions aloud. When others lowered their eyes, she raised her hand higher. Her father, seeing the fire in her eyes, didn't shield her from harsh truths. Instead, he fanned the flames of her curiosity. At 11 years old, Malala began blogging for the BBC under a pseudonym. Her words painted pictures of life under Taliban rule, empty streets after sunset, burned schools, and the heavy silence of fear. But between the lines of terror, she wrote about hope, about girls who still studied in secret, sharing single textbooks between 10 students, about dreams that refused to die. Her blog spread beyond the valley's borders. Each click, each share, each retweet carried her truth further, but with visibility came danger. Death threats slipped under their door at night. Her father would check under their car each morning for bombs. You might wonder, would you have the courage to keep speaking when every word could be your last? The Taliban's grip tightened like a noose. Markets once filled with women's voices grew silent. Malala watched her city transform into a prison. Yet she spoke louder, gave interviews, appeared in documentaries. Each public appearance was a dice roll with fate. Her father asked if she wanted to stop. Those words would soon be tested, in ways neither of them imagined. October 9, 2012. A date that should have marked Malala's end instead became her beginning. The Taliban fighter who boarded her school bus asked, "Who is Malala?" He already knew the answer. 3 shots rang out. 1 bullet found its mark, tearing through her head. But bullets, it turns out, cannot kill ideas. If you're enjoying Goddesses, please like, subscribe, and scan the QR code for our free 7-day email course, Be an Unstoppable Woman. Lead without apology using quiet power tactics from influential females like Oprah, Malala, and RBG. Now, back to the episode. In a Birmingham hospital, thousands of miles from home, Malala opened her eyes to a changed world. Cards and letters flooded in from every corner of the globe. World leaders spoke her name, but more importantly, girls she had never met found their own voices. You see, her attackers made a crucial mistake. They thought silencing one girl would silence millions. Instead, they created an icon. Each stitch in her skull, each painful step of rehabilitation, became a testament to the power of persistence. Picture the United Nations Assembly Hall. Hundreds of diplomats and world leaders sit in hushed anticipation. At the podium stands a 16-year-old girl in a pink shawl. It's Malala's 16th birthday, but she's not here for celebration. She's here to shake the foundations of power. The words echo through the chamber, but they're not meant just for those present. They're meant for you, sitting here now, wondering what one person can really do against seemingly insurmountable odds. The Nobel Peace Prize came next, making her its youngest recipient. But Malala never wanted awards. She wanted action. The Malala Fund was born, targeting regions where girls face the steepest barriers to education. While media attention focused on her accolades, she focused on the work. You might see her story in history books someday. But right now, it's still being written in classrooms across Afghanistan, Nigeria, and Pakistan. In places where girls still risk everything just to learn their ABCs. Today, Malala's voice reaches further than ever, but she's no longer alone. Thousands of young women have found their own courage to speak up, to demand their rights, to challenge the status quo. Each one carries a piece of that same fire that burned in a young girl from Swat Valley. But here's what matters most. This isn't just Malala's story. It's a challenge to you. Think about the injustices you see but stay silent about, the wrongs you witness but walk past, the truths you know but fear to speak. Malala's story isn't asking you to take a bullet for your beliefs. It's asking you to recognize that your voice, yes, yours, has power. What would happen if you used it? Bullet meant to silence a girl's dreams, instead ignited a revolution. But revolutions don't end with one person. They end when every person who witnesses injustice finds the courage to speak up, to stand firm, to demand change. So let me ask you, what truth are you afraid to speak? What change are you waiting for someone else to make? What would happen if you, like that young girl on a school bus in Pakistan, decided that silence was no longer an option? Because here's the real lesson of Malala's story. Courage isn't about being fearless. It's about looking fear in the eye and speaking anyway. Your voice might not change the world overnight, but neither did hers until it did. The question isn't whether your voice matters. The question is, when will you use it? On the next episode of Goddesses, imagine a world where courageous young voices spark global movements, only to face unexpected challenges. After witnessing Malala's unyielding spirit in her fight for girls' education, you're about to meet another extraordinary youth activist who ignited a climate revolution. But what happens when the spotlight fades and the personal cost of activism starts to take its toll? Discover Greta Thunberg's lonely journey from schoolgirl striker to international icon, and how she grapples with the fickleness of public opinion in this week's exploration of emerging future shapers. Please like, subscribe, and scan the QR code, or follow the pinned link to get our free 7-day email course, Be an Unstoppable Woman. 7 days, 7 iconic women. Master the art of quiet power, lead without apology, and turn femininity into your greatest weapon. Click the video that just popped up to watch the next one in this series. Or for episode summaries, behind-the-scenes info, and more, go to daily8.com/god. Thanks for watching.